Good morning.
In your new office.
Good.
I
I
love
can
it.
barely hear you. I don't know if
Oh,
that's just on my end or
I don't
if
know. Let's do
everybody's.
some audio settings. Yeah. Is that better?
Mm-hmm.
It is better? Okay. I
Hi,
changed.
Nicole.
Hello. Good morning, Kayla. How are you?
Good. Happy to be here.
Me too. Me too. Me too. Me too. It's still, look, you're getting more homey in your little
I
office.
know. I know. Week by week, it gets a little more Kayla in here.
I love it. I love it. Well, good morning, everyone. I hope you had a great weekend. Hope you got to rest, relax, recharge, all of the good things. We're ready to kick off the week with our Mindset Monday with Kayla. I'm super excited because there's lots of changes happening around here, and I'm a little bit nervous. This is next week's we'll be doing this a little bit differently. You'll still get the link. Everything will still be live. Hopefully everything will be the same on your end. And our back end operational changes will not interrupt or disrupt anything. So I'm putting that out there because technology, it is
Oh,
what it
wait.
is.
Next week is going to be different altogether because we're not doing it live.
Oh, that's right.
We're really
Okay.
tripping people
Yeah,
up.
right. I know, right? Okay, so yeah, we'll have a recording next week, and then the following week we'll change the. Anyway,
Yeah.
regardless, happy Monday. I'm glad to be here. Let's get this week going before we
I know.
worry about
I just
next
want
week.
to say
How about
I
that?
feel bad for the person who showed up and this is their first time today, guys. Just bear with us. I promise that those changes that we just talked about are worth the pain of change to
Yes.
keep listening to us show up and talk.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. So, yeah, before we get into next week, holy cow, mindset, Nicole, mindset, stay in the present. Where are we
Yes.
today?
So this
What's
week's
our quote?
quote comes to us from Carl Rogers, who I did look up. Is some He's a founder of something in American psychology. I didn't write it here. But he
Mm.
said, "We think we listen, but very rarely do we listen with real understanding."
This is one of those things we talk about being present and listening. And I just want to, I think we need to normalize this. Like, this is not, if you do this, this is not weird. This is what we all do. Like, you're listening to somebody and you're already formulating like the next
Mhm.
thing that I'm going to say. Um, and that is so true.
It's human nature. If you
And
have a belly button, that's the programming you came with.
exactly. And so I think this is one of the reasons that I love Mindset Monday with you, Kayla, is because this is probably one of the least scripted moments of my week where, you know, it's just a conversation. It's just
Mhm.
about, we just use the quote to kind of get us going in the right direction. And I love that we're talking about listening because I think listening might be one of the most challenging things or aspects of being a human being.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
probably, especially when, we so often in conversations, people focus on when they think about working on their communication, they focus on the words that they're going to say, the way that they're going to say it, if it is the right thing to say in that moment, etc. But it's interesting, a perspective that I read when going through like developing healthy relationships is actually especially if there's any kind of conflict involved, instead
mm,
of focusing on what we should be saying, we actually should be focusing on understanding the other person, and then what we say is secondary. It's a
yes.
byproduct. And if we would just spend more time on trying to understand rather than being understood, we would actually get a lot farther. And that one
Yeah.
is hella hard.
Yes, it is. There's a quote somewhere. Somebody look it up. I don't know. It somewhere somebody said or I read, seek first to understand, not to be understood.
Then,
And
yeah.
that is exactly what you're saying there. And man, that's hard. I
Hmm.
mean, I don't know. This mindset work, I'm not going to say gets easier because I'm not sure that it does. It just gets deeper.
Yeah.
That's what I want to talk about is it gets deeper because this whole idea of listening, because the other thing about this, about listening, truly listening, falls into the category of the other thing that I find is really hard for me as a human being is adequately expressing myself.
Mm.
And so I think that one of the reasons that it's hard to listen is because we also, as humans, are not always super good at expressing ourselves. And so we think we know what somebody's saying, and we may or may not. And so there's so many nuances and so many things that can break down, even in good communication. Um, and I think that that listening part can bridge so many of those gaps if we do the work to really listen and get. Here's the other thing that comes to my mind, Kayla, is curiosity.
Mm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just that,
Curiosity is almost the antidote to conflict.
right? I would agree with that. It can, because of all of the things that can go wrong in communication when we get really curious about asking questions to better understand, right? It allows us to get deeper insight into what's actually happening in the conversation. And man, this stuff is one, it's deep, it is challenging, it is all of the things. However, my first bullet point on my notes is that when we actually listen, we create an amazing and abundant safety and trust in the relationships that we're building. And that is crazy awesome because the more safety and trust we have in those relationships, the deeper we can go in the curiosity to get the understanding to actually be helpful. Um, yeah, I don't know.
That brought up a
I
couple of points for me. So first and foremost, human beings are wired to be social creatures, and so social acceptance is one of those things that's like baked into our operating system. So if you're somebody who struggles with like, oh, why do I care so much that what that person thinks, that's why. It's because you're a human.
Mhm.
You can work on that, but there's nothing wrong with you for feeling that way. um but part of what goes along with that is like we have this desire to be heard, and in all, and this goes beyond just conflict. Everybody wants to be heard and validated. So the other side of that coin is when you are intentionally trying to build relationships with your clients, with their providers, you can very it's a very low effort lift to provide them that safe space for listening and validation, and just listen to them, and you build so much relationship currency just by listening to them, because people don't remember what you say to them. They remember the way that you
Mm.
made them feel. And when you make them feel safe seen and heard, they're like, oh my God, she's amazing. Like, I love her. I trust her, all the things. And like, maybe you barely even said anything other than, reflected back a few observations. So this conversation to me is actually quite tactical and tangible in our work here. It's an unflexed superpower for many.
I love this, Kayla. I think you've hit on a huge, huge piece of this. The entire, maybe not the entire reason, but a big part of why we exist as independent patient advocates is because this part inside the healthcare system is missing.
Oh
Nobody
yeah.
has time for it,
It's not
right?
profitable.
That's right. There's no revenue code attached. There's no, income. And it has been systematized out of the system, quite frankly. And so for the work that we do, I would venture to say that this is the biggest piece of the puzzle that we bring to our clients. Is this moment of listening, collaborating, validating, giving them that sense of being heard and seen and valued. And this doesn't even, like, we're not even into the services that we provide yet, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is just the core issue of what we bring to the work that we do. And it is also directly tied to our mindset and how we're showing up, less the skill set, right? That's a whole different thing.
I mean, like, it's society at large. Like, we don't value these kinds of things that we're talking about here today. I mean, we call them soft skills. Like, that needs such a rebranding. It like hurts my heart. Like, once I feel like I've done enough in the world of advocacy, I think I'm gonna seek out to rebrand soft skills.
Love it, right? I know.
But it's kind of like a visual popped in my head when you were talking. I'm gonna share and see if this resonates with anybody else. But especially in moments of conflict or tension, and when there's something that your client needs and we can't get through to provide, whatever the circumstance may be. Or even for me, a lot of times, like, my people come to me often undiagnosed or not, just feeling dismissed, and there's usually like something is missing. And when we go back and forth in tense conversations, it's almost like, think of, like, I don't know, like a pot of stew, and you're just stirring it and stirring it, and everything like stays very homogenous. But if you just let it sit, aka just listen, especially if there's other parties involved, things start to settle out, and you can actually see some separation in the layers, right? Or think about like oil and vinegar, whatever, pick a visual. I think you get where I'm going here. But the like
Yeah, there's many.
back and forth banter, it's like it keeps everything stirred up, and you can't even see what's going on. And then when you can pull yourself back into observation mode, especially, and not just, I'm going to take a break from this and be in your thoughts over here, but truly putting on the ears of an observer, 2 ears, 1 mouth, listen twice as much as you talk, and observe and take that back and forth. You can start to, it's like you can start to see the other party's thought processes, and then where they're breaking down, and like where they're operating with assumptions versus the facts. And you can start to say, this is where we're getting off track, because you thought this thing and you thought this thing, and so now we're operating in 2 completely different places. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that's the outcome of my sit and listen.
Right. It's so interesting. I love, I've been working with advocates for a long time now. Gosh, it's been 4 years. And I have to say, I always joke, because when we're talking through cases and we're, doing the work of advocacy, so many times I say, okay, let's take a deep breath. let's do a reset, and let's go all the way back to the beginning and walk through where we are for the very same reason, because so many times the things that are missing or are tripping us up or are causing our clients issues, they're things that if we slow down, you know what, this is a whole nother topic, I think, because what I'm going to say is if we will slow down a little bit, it becomes much clearer. Like exactly what you're saying. Exactly what you're saying. Stop stirring the pot and just let things kind of naturally and organically float to the top that need to be scooped out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And all of the things. And it really comes down to, I was just thinking about, man, our society has gotten so fast that we are programmed to move so quickly and move through things so fast that we miss some of the things. And I don't want to say the obvious, but sometimes they become obvious when we slow down.
Yeah, yeah. You
And
know what? And to that point, it's not just society. Like that's like human beings are wired like your operating system is designed to get you to seek getting out of discomfort as quickly as possible.
ooh,
And then
yeah,
it's further accentuated by the fast-paced society that we live in. So when there is a problem or a conflict, physical or mental, emotional discomfort, like we want to make that go away as fast as possible. Honestly, that's why you see so many people seeking substances instead of dealing with their problems, because that's a quick, easy off button, and it's because like that's the way our brains work. Like we're looking for that it's a survival mechanism to pull
right.
yourself out of discomfort as quickly as possible to preserve, the function of the body. But it doesn't translate to modern day
No, it really
society and
doesn't.
like the
No.
challenges that we have.
Right? It really doesn't. It doesn't translate at all well. This is, I love this because this really kind of reminds me that, our strategic planning workshop, AKA our strategic planning crew, we're getting together again on Friday, the 19th of this month. So a couple of weeks. And in the process that we use in planning our quarters, it really does require us to slow down and listen specifically to our clients, our potential clients, previous clients, so that we can be making database decisions every quarter to help increase our grow our business and help more and more patients. So if you're interested in slowing down in your business and stopping spinning your wheels, consider joining us on the 19th, to kind of take a look at that and get you a really solid plan, that's going to move your business forward, because this listening thing is really important in client work, in our lives, in our business work, um, personally. I mean, everywhere.
Right. Like
Slow
there is
down.
not a place it doesn't touch.
Right.
The ROI
Exactly.
is across the
Exactly.
board. Also,
Exactly.
if you were
Exactly.
listening to Nicole and you were like, no, I don't want to slow down in my business, I want to go fast. This is also still for you because
Yes.
you, you first
Tell it.
must
Tell
slow
it.
down to go fast.
That's right. We
Speaking as
must.
somebody who likes to run on full octane, you
Yes.
got to make sure that the wheels are all on tight. The laces are tied and double knotted before you go run. So like
Yeah.
that's what this time is for.
Yes.
And it's not even just about speed, really, but making sure that our kind of going back to what we were talking about last week. And if you weren't here, last week's topic was, stop trying to manage your time and start managing your focus. And when you
It's a good
have
one,
that
by the way.
plan, when you have that plan from the outset, then you can just stay in that focus mode and everything that you're doing is actually productive because you can go really fast in a circle. And who wants to do that?
Yeah, right, right. I love it. Yeah, it's so true. I mean, the whole tagline for this strategic planning crew is think once, execute daily. Because when you think once and you get really focused, then you can just execute day after day after day without slowing down to think. Right,
Yes.
exactly. And it's pretty amazing when you get that process set up and it's running in your business. Anyway, I digress. Listening, super important in planning, in creating services, in taking care of your clients, in
Yep,
creating
solving problems.
right, identifying yourself as the solution for your clients. It all falls into this bucket of really good listening and understanding before being understood. The second thing that I have on my notes here is that really understanding goes beyond words. So a lot of times, and this kind of goes into where I was talking about, as human beings, we kind of are weird communicators. And words are only one little tiny sliver of communication, right? And so often we talk a lot here in Mindset Monday about the difference between ego and intuition and those feelings. And I think that this is another area that we have to be really mindful of the other underlying pieces of communication. In our mindset, there is this, and Kayla has shared this previously. There's like this part of our brain that we really can't access language around. And that is for all of us. There are things that are happening and we're trying to communicate to each other that we really don't have the right language for. And so when we're in communication, when we're trying to have these really important conversations around patient care and how they're feeling and what's happening to them, and you're trying, and we as advocates are trying to help them navigate that, there is a lot of that communication that falls into that space where there's no language.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to be really acutely aware of that so that we can practice listening beneath the surface of what's being said.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you that I just entered into a space where I don't have language. Like I said, underneath the surface of what's being said, and I don't know how else to describe that. Because I just entered that space where I'm trying to talk about something that I don't have, concrete language.
So I'll step in. I'll say as a clinical advocate, one of the things that I've observed over and over is, when patients, our clients are having medical issues and especially, having challenges getting them addressed with their care team, their body is under some sort of physical threat, right? Like something is not functioning properly with it. And that can very quickly activate a fight or flight response because your body literally, like, you're trying to protect your own life. And the challenge is that, I don't think that, at least here in the US, like providers get enough effective communication skill training. If they get any, I don't know, maybe it's like nutrition where it's just an afterthought in medical school.
I don't know.
But a kind of across the board, a lot of providers, once patients start using emotional language, which is the shift that you go in when you're in a fight or flight state, and they're just talking about their feelings, it's very quick for them to get lumped into a category of, oh, this is psychological, and get written off or just plain dismissed. There's, God bless, that's a whole, we could talk 6 hours about that without stop.
Yeah. Right.
But that, to me, as now I'm going to actually put on my hat, I call myself a personal medical strategist. That is one of the things that I actually spend a lot of time on talking with my clients is how to take their feelings and actually we translate it into scripts that focus on the facts instead of the feelings, so that it's language that their providers will actually hear and act on. So to me, that's one of the strongest suits that I bring my clients. And if that is not a way that you are, I'm sure that you're doing that to some degree without realizing it. I think that's a lot of this role. But the more intention you can put around that, whoo, that is fire.
Right. It is fire because again, so if you're looking for these scripts, like there's a way to do this. Like you can actually put these into scripts, and these are the things that we're working and we're actively putting into the vaults with our Wednesday trainings. So the video vault is also available if you just are looking for those resources and how to help translate and how to talk about some of this stuff with your clients, right? Super excited about that. Because you're right. We go into this place where like concrete communication gets really, really challenging and it takes time. Like
Mhm.
it doesn't, there's no alternative for that, I guess is what I want to say. Like there's no shortcut for the time that's required to do this work. And that's probably why it gets shortchanged out of the system because there's no shortcut for it. I don't know. I love that. I will say this, that I think, again, when we can implement these things and we can slow down to speed up and we can move into this deeper realm of communication and connection, right? Like it's not just communication, but when we're able to do this, we also create really strong connections with the people in our world.
Which,
And
by
that
the
are
way, don't sleep on connections. Again, we need to rebrand soft skills because that connection and that trust, do you know what that means? Clients for life.
say it again. Yes, we talk about this a lot. Like I never wanted, like we should have clients for life. Literally. The work that we do is so transformative and so powerful and so connecting and so deep at the human level that our clients, when we develop this type of relationship, we really do create clients for life. They will never go to another advocate. I mean, or another system or another whatever. We will become the piece of the puzzle that they will rely on forever. Anyway, I love this. I think this is just incredibly powerful. And of course, the last piece of what I wanted to share was when we do all of this, when we practice this, when we, make it part of who we are and what we do, it means there's going to be less misunderstandings, clearer communication with providers, and guess what? Better client outcomes, which ultimately strengthens our relationships with our referral partners, our clients, each other as professionals. I mean, there is absolutely zero downside to implementing and working on this and adopting it into our everyday. So I'm going to ask, we are running out of time. Kayla, what is our challenge of the week? Like what are
Yeah,
we
so
what are we
I
gonna do?
want you to think back on your past week or so, and think of a time where, in hindsight, you can say, you know what, maybe I was too focused on what I wanted to say in that moment. And I can see now where I would have benefited from focusing on listening instead of focusing on, tailoring my argument the right way, or however you want to word that. And then take it a step even further back and put on the lens of the observer for that situation, and see if you can identify some of the early kind of red flags or triggers that took you away
Ooh,
from listening and pushed you into that a little bit more reactive state where you tend to, the verbal diarrhea starts to open up. So see
right?
if you can find that moment, replay how it could have been different if you had focused on listening, and identify, this is gold stars, identify those trigger points. So because when you can identify those pieces that say, okay, when this happens, I tend to go left and I really want to go right, then we can bring more awareness to it, and you'll get closer and closer to preventing those situations. It's very much a process, but it starts with the awareness. And by the way, for everybody who is working on this, it starts with awareness after it happens. When,
Yes, that is
I
correct.
mean, I'm, still not like the greatest human being or whatever, but I'm doing much better with my interpersonal skills than I was when I started working on this stuff 5 years ago. And I kid you not, like when I started working on stuff, it would take me sometimes 2 days after, like, we'll say an argument with my husband to go, you know what? Maybe there was something I should have done different. And now I've gotten to a point where oftentimes I can catch the words before they come out of my mouth, or if not directly after, and kind of wait, pause. That's really not the way I want to approach this, and kind of shift things. And that took 5 years. So
Right.
be gentle with
Right.
yourself. But you know what? You will never get
Yes.
to where you want to go if you don't start walking. So
That's right. That's right. I love it. Well, you guys, this has been great. As always, I love these conversations. I think it's a phenomenal way for us to kick off our week. Take this challenge, take it seriously. Watch inside of the Facebook group because we will be posting conversations about this all week. You'll have the opportunity to drop your examples in, what you're experiencing, how you're applying this into your life this week. And we look forward to seeing you there. We'll see you back here again next Monday. Well, there
ish.
will be a recording. Yeah, ish. We'll have Mindset Monday next week as well. I think we're putting on a recording, and then the following week we'll be back live. So anyway, regardless, have a fantastic week. Would love to see you on our call Wednesday. If not, we'll see you back here next Monday, same time, same place. Have a great week, y'all.